I'm Rachelle of Rachelle Handmade. We are in week 2 of the Matricon Quilt Along, and I'm very excited to have everybody join me. Unfortunately, during the first week, my live video didn't record on Instagram, so I'm going to today walk you through how I typically choose my fabrics for my quilt patterns. For this one in particular, I found this gorgeous fabric online. This is Art Gallery Fabrics, Wanderlust Bold, and I decided to choose this for my backing, and I contacted the same company that I got that from, and I said I want to make my top of my quilt based on the colors of my backing. So together we chose these colors, these wonderful Art Gallery Pure Solids colors. So I will be making my second Matricon quilt with these beautiful colors. In general too, this is how I store and reference my colors while I'm quilting. I take little swatches, and you can use pinking shears, or you don't have to even. Take those and just glue stick them on real quick to a index card, and you can either do sticky notes on the cards themselves, or you can write on there with Sharpie. And I just sew a couple quick lines down there and label my colors 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and I could take this and tuck it away into my archive for future reference. When I write my pattern, I put those in the very back so I can tell everybody what I made my quilt out of, and way down the road, in case it gets lost or I need to find some, I want to use that palette again, I have that palette. Here's another example of one that I used. I used this for a test quilt. I found this in the fabric store years ago, and I made a couple things with it, but this is all I have left of it. So it's got black and gray and red and white, and I did a test quilt recently where I pulled all these colors from it. You got the red and the gray and the black and the white, and I did that exact same thing, and I took all my colors and just used prints to match. So this is another fabric that I used, but this fabric here, I got it in like the dollar scrap bin, whatnot, the bargain bin at the fabric store, and I honestly will not use this fabric myself, but I've already pulled colors from it. See if you see that. I pulled the maroon and the blue, and I did a brighter green, and I pulled the orange from it. So I'll never use this except for just as a reference to pull my colors out of, and I'll just go ahead and I'll make a quilt out of this. I might use a black background, or even a white background would look cool with that too. But that's how I chose my palette for that quilt, which I don't even have a design for it, but I have a palette ready to go. Other ways that I choose my palettes are I look through the clothing magazines. I get a couple in the mail that I don't buy from anymore, but they keep sending me magazines. But I got this a few days ago, and look at those colors. Got the pink and the gray and the white, and then you got a dark blue. I probably won't use the green in it, but isn't that too cool? I will save that in my idea book for a future palette. I also look in the fabric magazines that I get. Here's one that I pulled, and it's just a simple thread packet that they sell. Oops, sorry. And I just thought that was too cool. I will not ever use that fabric, but I will probably likely just pull those colors from these spools and use those on a future quilt. Here's another example from the same brand magazine. Got purple and black and yellow and blue and white, and that'll be going in my idea book. So speaking of my idea book, here is a, it's just a basic, it's a minimalism art book, and I think I got it on Amazon or in, I don't know, Hobby Lobby or Michael's, I can't remember exactly. But it's just a regular, it's like a 11, not even 11, but 9x8 book per se. And in my book I have all kinds of ideas and notes for pretty much all my quilts that I've made so far. Carry this around with me all the time and just stick ideas in there wherever I can find it. Like for example, here's a quilt that I made for my husband, and it started out with this palette, this Kona palette. It's an adventure palette, it says. And what I did was I just took these colors and I pretty much expanded on them, and I made this quilt for my husband. And I organized my fabrics like this too in my book, my idea book. So I just tape them in there with all the descriptions of the fabric names, so I can reference those later, and I can take this to the store and find my matching binding or backing for that. So it just started out with a, I didn't actually even buy this palette, I just found this picture online of the palette and took that and used that to make my, my quilt palette. Here's another one that I use. This is the Kona Birds of Paradise fabric palette. What I did here was I took this one and I pretty much like ignored the top row. So I ignored like the top half of this fat quarter bundle, and I pulled the same fabrics from it, or very similar fabrics from it, and I put them in my book. So I put them all down here labeled, and then I have like A, B, C, D, A and F, and whatever one is my binding. And here's a picture of my layout of the quilt that I made. So this is all stuck in my book, all taped in there for posterity's sake. And I'll just put this is a full book, fortunately. It's gotten a little heavy with everything taped in there, but that's how I store those. I also just, when I'm going through my stash, sometimes I just, I'm having a day and I don't feel like sewing. I just want to play with a pretty fabric on my shelf. I have a bunch of Kona solids I buy to fill out my orders sometimes. You used to, not nowadays, but you used to be able to buy quarter yard cuts, quarter or half yard cuts of Kona solids. So I'd have like a $40 order, and shipping was minimum of $50 to get free shipping. So I just fill out my order with a few quarter yard cuts to just get colors that I liked or thought I'd like, and didn't have in my stash yet. So sometimes I take and just pull off random fabrics off of my shelf. And this one was one day I put together these colors. I planned them for a quilt, but didn't end up making that one. These are just colors that I put together down here and here, and maybe one day they'll be used, but for now they're just stashed in my idea book for later use. Another final thing that I do, oh, I have two more things. Hardware store. I go to the hardware store, and you know those paint palettes that you get or you see? I just take a couple of those that I find interesting, and I could take and pull from this and make a palette from this. So you see these on Pinterest and online. I just pretty much sometimes go to the hardware store and find my own palettes, because if they put it together, it probably will work real well. And when I do go to events with friends, hopefully that'll be soon, I am not above asking people for scraps of fabric that they're currently using. So I got this one from a friend during an in-person meeting, and I'm so going to use this down the road. I've got the white and the green and the pink and the purple. And I think that is so cool. That will make an awesome palette. And that's going to my fresh idea book that hasn't been filled up yet. This was a scrap from one of the quilts I made. And how cool is that? And I might even like take the design of the dots and make that into a design in itself. So, but even those colors are so cool. This fabric I found in another bargain bin, and I will never use this fabric, but this whole, like, I think it's like a half-yard piece cost me $3. But I'm going to take this and pull out the pink and the orange and the black, and there's a cream, maybe make that a white, and then there's a tan, yeah, and a red too. So I might take this and make a palette out of this, so this will be my reference, and put this away in my stash. Maybe I'll use it as binding. I don't know. I haven't decided yet, but that's ways down the road. A couple other pieces that I've asked for from friends is from this one. My friend was making a Christmas quilt, and I said that would be really cool to make a Christmas quilt in non-actual Christmas colors. So like a green and blue and pink. So you have the red and the green-ish, but they're not like screaming Christmas. It's just like Christmas. Here's another one that I'll probably pull from. Got the gray and the yellow and the dark gray and the white. Those are cool colors to use together. That'll be a subtle quilt with a little bit of pops of color with the yellow. And I think this is last two. Love this one. So I can turn the gray, the dark gray, make it black even, with the neon green, the teal, the gray, and the white. That'd be really cool. And this one would make a really cool baby quilt for a little girl, or you can make it blue for a boy. So you got the gray, the dark gray, dark pink, light pink, and the white, or you could turn all these dark pinks and light pinks into blues or purples or greens or whatever color you want. But I'm sensing a theme here that I really like colors with dark gray and light gray together. But I guess to each his own. That's my thing. So that's all I have for now with picking colors. This one in particular I took and I grabbed a Kona Wildberry fat quarter bundle, and just I didn't add any colors. I didn't take any colors away except for ones that I had too many of, and took that and made a quilt. So I just pull from your surroundings and pull from the fabric around you, whether you're actually going to use it down the road or not. But a lot of shops let you get a 1/8 yard cut, which is, if you have a $10 $8 or $10 piece of or $8 or $10 per yard fabric, that's like $1 or $1.50. So I'll definitely pay $1, $1.50 to have this cool fabric in my stash for inspiration later down the road. So if you have any questions about how any more questions about how I choose my fabrics or any of my processes, feel free to email me at RachelleHandmade@gmail.com, or you can visit my website, RachelleHandmade.com. Thanks for joining me. Have a good one.